Good morning and welcome back to my little piece of paradise where I'm going to be teaching all about Saturn today. Now, for eons across all cultures, Saturn has been the one. He's been picked as the master of time, the master of all the other gods in the pantheon. But we've never really been told why this is. I've searched the internet now for 16 years and seen a lot of things, everything I can find on Saturn. And he is Kronos, he is time, but why is he time? Why not pick Jupiter? Why not pick Venus or Mercury? Why not pick any of the other planets as master of time? And really, we could ask the question, why does there need to be a master of time or a planet that was picked for a master of time? What is it about all these ancient cultures that picked Saturn? What did they see? And what are they trying to teach us in the Great Pyramid or Angkor Wat or any structure in the world? And how far back does this Saturn veneration go? All the way back to the Minoans, the very earliest of civilizations and recorded history. A reoccurring theme all across the world in every culture. In India, Shiva and Vishnu are also time gods. All cultures, all the way back, have their own Kronos. I want you to note that Vishnu has 8 arms. So Vishnu/Kronos has 8 arms. Interesting, somebody else we know built a structure with 8 sides, venerating who? I just want to pull it up here for a sec because I want to tell you guys and show everyone in the world that happens to see this is that how I've worked all this out and how I did everything. The method is the most important thing, I think, to share with you guys the entire methods of how I approached everything so that everyone can see for themselves exactly how it works and how I approached it. So, how I've approached everything, I've taken every structure in the world as a clue. I know everyone is doing that, but in a way that is slightly different, only very slightly. There's one perfect system and they come under these, what we call the quadrivium: astronomy, harmony, geometry and arithmetic. And it's the law, and it's turned into the law. We made stories, we made music, we made all sorts of stuff out of the knowledge of this, and we turned it into, so navigators, for example, they would learn songs about the stars. And we know even with, say, Alzheimer patients, if you play them music, they all of a sudden remember their children's names. They remember their past. It only lasts a little while, but the most powerful thing is not the rote memory, but is actually the creative side. So we knew that if you wanted to teach the children or teach somebody to navigate, the best way is through song or through story. I should put some images up here of bones that have been found 40,000, 50,000 years old, and they've been counting, and they've found this one's the moon, they're counting the moon cycle or whatever it might be. Now, once these ancient ancestors had seen exactly what you're going to learn from me, from what I've just observed, I didn't need to do anything to this stuff. This is really important to know this, is that I'm not smart enough to do any of this. This is just already there. The rules of when you play up and down the fretboard, there's nothing I can do about that. When you put your finger there, it's either going to be sharp or flat. If you've got a violin or a fretless bass or an upright bass, you don't have frets. So you've got to be very, very precise on the skin perfectly. The masters, you can really tell that they are unbelievably perfect. So there's nothing we can do about their laws. They're locked in, they're set into the universe. That's where I wanted to build from, and I knew that every structure in the universe that was built by man to venerate these things, this quadrivium, to teach us thousands and thousands and thousands of years into the future, that they knew there was one system that can be studied under these subheadings. But there is one system. There is only one. It's all about the one, the monad. All these things, of course, we've all contemplated forever. But I wanted to know everything. So the keys to the universe. We always start from building from 1. So look at column C. We build the entire scale from the tonic of 1 hertz, and then we double it and we triple. A master key to unlocking the entire universe. the most basic laws of geometry, like the one circle in the middle and 6 fitting around the outside, and when brought together, the seed of life. Now yes, 6 is the most divisible number, and 1 plus 2 plus 3, or 1 times 2 times 3, equals 6. The simple and basic observations of sexagesimal being the most divisible system. Continuing on with our laws, we're sitting around a campfire in the ancient past. We draw a circle. We have a radius. Now we lay that radius around the circle, and we realise that it doesn't quite meet to the end. There's a small portion left over, an extra portion. A divine proportion, and simple basic observable laws like 9 times any number always sums to 9. Now what these are repeatable and observable things that can't be messed with by man. Now if Saturn rules time, he rules all these numbers. And did our ancestors discover anything about Saturn that relates to any of these numbers, 60 or 6 especially? The universe has been described by many of the great minds and great masters as a stringed instrument, from Walter Russell to Pythagoras to so many. But what on earth did they mean? But on the 23rd of August this year, 2025, I decided to come at it like a luthier, like the builder of the instrument itself. I came to realise that after many people had studied this harmonic series, that we'd come to a dead end with it. And that's when, finally, all the pieces, all the missing links came together. Hold up, I gotta tell you exactly how it happened. On the 23rd of August, I'm thinking about the oldest instruments in the world. And the first thing that pops up was the lyre of Ur, or the harp of Ur, one of the oldest instruments ever found. There were 2 laying side by side, a silver lyre and the gold lyre. The video shows Peter reconstructing or making a replica of this lyre. And this is what I was on the hunt for, the dimensions of this instrument itself. And reason being, to my thinking, was that this instrument would most definitely encode everything that a pyramid would encode, like the harmonic series, or using the dimensions from the lyre of Ur, we find that when we add all the different lengths, whether it be side length or the depth or the string length, all these different measures on this lyre, basically they all add up to 432 or 456, all notes in the harmonic series. But hang on a minute, that was all in metric. Well, just like we saw in the Amazon, at the ancient site in the Amazon, all in metric. So what I noticed with this lyre was that one of the measures, 90 centimetres, is equal to 35.4 inches, which is the cycle of the moon, the 12 lunar months. But I also noticed the 63 centimetres at its base. As I'm doing all this and I'm looking at it, I think to myself to have a look at frets, and I don't even know why, but I just think to have a look at the ratio, that there would be a ratio to set frets at the perfect distances. The first video that I pull up is this guy here, and I just happen to get very lucky this day, the same day, just as I'm looking at the lyre of Ur, this comes up. Why was I lucky? Well, this guy happened to pick 630 millimeters for his string length, which turns out not to be a very common string length. Then we learned the ratio. It's the 12th root of 2, or 0.944, that divides up the frets into a perfect chromatic 12-note scale. Now, did any of you keen observers notice anything? First fret, 35.4 millimeters. And what is the moon? The moon is the closest body to Earth. And what is the first fret? It is the closest fret to the nut, or nut. But hang on a minute, what do we notice on the second fret? We notice Mars, that is the orbital period of Mars, and the distance between latitudes at the equator. As this is unfolding, I think, hang on a minute, Saturn's the boundary, here's the limit. All about restriction and the outer boundary. Basically, as I'm thinking these things, I race to the 24th fret to check, to see if this continues with this theme. And to my utter astonishment, there it is. 24 times 157.5 equals the synodic period of Saturn. We have to break this up into 2 parts. I can only do 10 minutes at a time. But the next part you're going to see where the 60 and the 24 and all the numbers associated with time, and why Saturn has been connected to these numbers, and what the ancients observed. There are things the religious elite have not told their own flocks. Maybe they don't know. Maybe it's lost to them. Or maybe it's just kept on lock and key. But part 2, we unveil the last piece.